Truvac HXX Lubrication and Fluids. This video is for general information. This video will concentrate on what needs to be done to keep your Truvac lubricated and proper fluids. The operator manual should be read for more detail on proper care of your Truvac HXX. Grease. Unless otherwise noted, grease all zerks and required surfaces with Castrol Pyroplex Protection ES Synthetic EP2 Grease NLGI No. 2, purple or an equivalent. Special operating conditions, excessive temperatures or speed may require different types of grease. Consult the factory. Do not overgrease. Note: keep grease fittings clean, accessible, and free from damage. Grease fittings should be checked every week. Examine for or replace broken fittings. All clamps and lid screws should be lubed with an anti-seize compound. Note: machine can be damaged. To avoid damage, never overfill or underfill any lubricant or fluid levels. Maintain proper fluid levels. Always use correct lubricant or fluid. Overfilling can cause overheating in bearings and gear lubrication systems. Never operate with either a malfunctioning lubrication system or an indicator light on, if equipped. Lubrication Chart. You can find lube charts in the manual and decals on the HXX unit. Some units have remote manifolds for ease and safety. Weekly grease points. All driveline joints. There are 2 U-joints per drive shaft and a slip joint. The drive shafts to lube are between the transmission and transfer case and blower, PTO off the side of the transmission, or PTO off the front of the engine. Vacuum relief on fan units only. There are 2 grease fittings to lube. Debris body mounting hinge, right side and left side. Rear door locks. There are 4 lock bar blocks. Boom lubrication. Lubricate the boom bearing weekly. Check for leaky hoses, loose connections, loose or broken wiring, and hardened vacuum hoses. This unit is equipped with a special heavy-duty swivel bearing and worm gear drive. The bearing has 3 grease fittings. 2 are on the inside and 1 is on the external gear. This bearing must be lubricated weekly or every 25 operating hours. The boom must be rotated in 45-degree increments when greasing. Coat the gear teeth with grease. Note: failure to rotate the boom when greasing will cause permanent failure of the bearing. Any one of the grease fittings can be used. Grease all boom pivot points. Boom care. Fully extend the boom and wash it down, including the tube seals. Note: if the seal is squeaking when extending or retracting, do not grease it. The seal is dry and or dirty. Blocking off the end of the vacuum hose with the blower on. Enable the vacuum relief. And shoot water at the front of the seal while extending and retracting. Will pull water between the 2 tubes. Maintain a clean boom inside and out to alleviate problems. Monthly grease points. Upper body hoist cylinder pins. There are 2 grease fittings on the cross of the cylinder. Lower body hoist cylinder bracket. There is 1 fitting at the mounting pin of the cylinder. Boom and cylinder pins. 2 fittings on each lift cylinder, and 2 on the boom pins. Rear door hinges, 2 to 4 depending on the model. Rear door cylinder hinges, 1 each cylinder. Liquid level indicator. Hydraulic system. The hydraulic system leaves the factory filled with Castrol Hydraulic Dual Range 32 oil. This purple fluid is recommended for all normal operating conditions from a -20 degrees to 95 degrees Fahrenheit ambient. For continuous operation above 95 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, Castrol Hydraulic Plus Blue 68 is recommended. For continuous operation below a -20 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, grade 22 oil is recommended. Other hydraulic oils, if used, should be a quality product carefully selected with the assistance from a credible supplier. The oil should include thermal stability, shear stability, low temperature fluidity, anti-wear, anti-corrosion, anti-foaming, and seal conditioning characteristics. Consult the factory for oil other than recommended products. The first change is for the filter at 100 hours and oil every 1,000 hours or 6 months after that. Filters should be changed whenever indicated by the filter gauge. Contaminants allowed to remain in the circuit, not removed by the filters, will cause excessive wear and malfunctions. The oil tank will normally feel hot to the touch. 2 sight glasses are installed to determine oil level are mounted on the side of the hydraulic reservoir tank. Proper oil level should not be less than half as viewed in the lower sight eye and not above a half in the upper side eye. The debris body should be down, rear door closed, boom stored, and system off when checking level. Check oil level every 8 hours. If the oil level is low, add proper grade of hydraulic oil. Hydraulic oil filter. The oil filters supplied by Vactor are equipped with a high-efficiency absolute filtering media. Many common filters only give approximately 30% filtration of the particles in the hydraulic oil. Absolute filtering can give as much as 98% filtration of the particles in the hydraulic oil. Vactor uses and recommends only the use of absolute filters. The hydraulic oil filter is normally located on the driver's side above the hydraulic oil tank. Filters should be changed whenever the indicator by the filter gauge and any time the hydraulic oil is changed. More frequent replacement could be advisable depending on operating conditions. If equipped, the indicator on the filter automatically resets after maintenance and is color-coded as follows: green, normal; yellow, warning; half yellow and half red, service. The indicator signals the following conditions: clogged filter element, fluid temperature below normal, impeding filter bypass valve open condition. Hydraulic oil filters should not be cleaned. They should be replaced and the old filter properly discarded in compliance with all federal, state, and local laws. To change the filter, follow these steps. Shut down the system and relieve pressure in the filter line. Remove the housing. Install new element. Pre-fill the new style housing to the top of the filter element. This reduces the amount of air introduced into the system. Reinstall the housing. Start the hydraulic pump system and check for leaks. If oil seepage is noted, apply additional hand torque to the canister until seepage stops. Water pump service. Refer to the manufacturer's manual for service details. Notes: first oil change on a new pump is 50 hours. Cat pump's oil change interval is 3 months or 500 hours, whichever comes first. Vactor requires a special oil for use in all cat pump models that provide additional protection in high ambient temperatures. The Vactor part number is 41600-30. Consult Vactor parts for service for other container sizes. PD transfer case. The oil level should be checked before beginning any operation. A sight glass for determining the oil level is mounted on the back side of the transfer case under the truck chassis. The sight glass can be viewed from the passenger side. Oil level should be in the center of the sight glass. Oil level should be checked only after the unit has been shut down for a minimum of 1/2 hour. Checking oil level too soon may give incorrect reading. See manufacturer's manual for correct oil type. Fill the transfer case slowly with oil. Allow time for the oil to flow down into the transfer case. Check oil level daily and service as needed. Fill to the center of the sight glass. Every 500 hours or 6 months, whichever comes first, drain, flush, and refill with BP Atrans Synthetic 295 or equivalent. Verify with a case ID tag. Note: rail units with creep drive should use a different lube. Always verify with the transfer case identification tag. Oil filling. Clean away all dirt around the filler plug before removing the plug. Refill with new oil of grade recommended. Fill until the oil level is halfway as viewed in the sight glass. Note: do not overfill the transfer case. Overfilling usually results in oil breakdown due to the excessive heat and aeration from churning action of the gears. Early breakdown of oil will result in heavy varnish and sludge deposits that plug up oil ports and build up on splines and bearings. PD blower. For blower description, maintenance, lubrication, and operation, see the blower manuals supplied with the vehicle. Freezing weather. Anytime the blower or unit will sit after use during freezing weather, the blower should be run 3 to 5 minutes with the vacuum relief open to dry out the blower. This will reduce the risk of the blower freezing up. Depending on weather conditions, it may even be necessary before the operators go to lunch and at the end of the daily operation. Oil level. There are normally 3 sight glasses on a blower. Locations will vary with the blower model and manufacturer. The unit should be on level ground and off. The oil should be filled to the center of these sight glasses. Do not overfill. Blower oil should be drained and replaced every 500 hours or whenever it becomes contaminated by water, chemicals, or any materials which could cause congealing or be abrasive. Oil changes at more frequent intervals may be necessary if oil conditions become poor. Remove debris from the oil fill plugs and sight gauges of the blower. Oil draining. In the event of temperatures below 68 degrees Fahrenheit, let the machine run for several minutes in order to heat the oil and make it more fluid. Remove the upper fill plug. Remove the drain plug at each end and let the oil flow out completely. Install and tighten the drain plug. Replace sealant on drain plugs. Use Loctite PST 56747 or an equivalent. Oil filling. Remove the upper fill plugs. Fill the tank to the maximum level in the sight gauge. Install and tighten the fill plugs. Start the unit up and run the blower about 1,000 RPMs for 10 minutes. Stop the blower and let the level stabilize for about 30 minutes. Check that the oil level at each sight gauge is correct. Add oil as required to bring it to the center of the sight gauge on the rear gauge. The front gauge should be in the middle of the upper half of the sight gauge window. Note: do not overfill the blower. Overfilling usually results in oil breakdown due to excessive heat and aeration from churning action of the gears. Early breakdown of oil will result in heavy varnish and sludge deposits that plug up oil ports and build up on splines and bearings. Verification and regular maintenance. If the oil sight gauges are dirty and make verification difficult, completely clean the case and/or replace the gauges. Fan spindle box. Oil should be drained and replaced every 500 hours or whatever becomes contaminated by water, chemicals, and any materials which could cause congealing or be abrasive. Fill the spindle box with 10 quarts of Vactor manufacturer's part number 48611-30 synthetic oil, Cello Mala 68 or equivalent. Remove fill vent plug to vent air as oil enters the box. Fill the box through the vent tube to the midpoint of the sight gauge. After filling, run the unit for several minutes to circulate the oil throughout the box. Shut the unit down. Immediately after the fan has come to a complete stop, check the oil level in the sight gauge. Do this before any oil has a chance to flow back into the sump. Top off to the midpoint of the sight gauge. This oil level should only be checked after the unit has been running. Note: it's normal for the oil level to be above the midpoint of the sight gauge at cold startup.